Just ahead on CTV News.
A reallocation of grant funding leads to tense moments in County Council. I'm Byron Scott. We'll have that story coming up.
And Governor Moore is back to signing more bills into law. Those stories and more on CTV News, starting now.
This is CTV News for May 13th. I'm Marquette Shepard.
And I'm Mariah Jalad. Thanks for joining us. We have breaking updates in the trial of Johnny Tercios, who was charged with the killing of a 2-year-old in Langley Park back in February 2024.
CTV's Bryce Parker is at the district courthouse in Upper Marlboro with the latest.
Closing arguments ended just moments ago with the state prosecution stating that just because you miss your intended target does not mean that you get away with killing someone else. The jury now deliberating the verdict of Johnny Tercios' involvement in the shooting death of 2-year-old Jeremy Pooh Caceres. The prosecution presented evidence in this case to the jury, including the .762 assault rifle which killed 2-year-old Jeremy and struck his mother in the leg, the .22 caliber handgun which they say was operated by Tercios, and a video from the second volley of shots fired. Tercios' defense argued that the witness testimonies IDing that Tercios was present during the shooting is not reliable, including the testimony of his co-defendant David Medina, who admitted to driving the getaway vehicle. Medina has pled guilty, and a fourth suspect, Nilson Granados Trejo's case, was dismissed due to lack of evidence. A motion for a mistrial actually delayed today's arguments as the state prosecution failed to give evidence to the defense before the trial started. Judge Michael Pearson denied that motion, although he was frustrated with the prosecution. In Upper Marlboro, I'm Bryce Parker, CTV News.
And stay with CTV News as we will continue to bring you updates as they develop.
And when the conversation centers around money, tempers can flare, and that was the case today in Prince George's County Council.
Millions of dollars in grant funding that had been promised to dozens of organizations has been rescinded. Byron Scott has our story.
But from the time Councilmember Ivy became chair, and I usually wouldn't call anyone out directly, but I have to because it has been a frustrating year and a half for me.
Tense moments in Prince George's County Council chambers today.
I didn't go and start anything by doing a press conference and using people who do good work in the community to start problems. Many people have said, oh, you young people, you all are doing it. Have we done this? Have we brought division by doing a press conference to go after a council member for trying to bring equity instead of bringing a real solution of trying to sit down and say, what can we do?
At issue, the reallocation of FY 2025 non-departmental grant money by Council Chair Ed Burrows. The money had been promised last October to dozens of nonprofits that provide a variety of services.
This was a difficult decision. This was a no-win decision for me because every single group, whether it's in District 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9, matters.
The blame for where we are today was put on Jolene Ivy, who was council chair when the grants were awarded last October and had final word on how the money was allocated.
The important thing is that every chair gets the opportunity to make decisions, and he's got his opportunity now, but he's reaching back into last year's budget to change things. And we need to keep the focus on the nonprofits that are doing great work.
According to Burrows, the bulk of the grant funding went to 3 districts, 1, 3, and 5, where Jolene Ivy lives. It also received the highest percentage. Also, according to Burrows, District 6, represented by Walla Blagay, received the least, 0 grant dollars.
But we looked and looked, and we didn't get an email from Ms. Blagay for what she wanted in the budget last year. So I don't know who she told, but she didn't tell me.
So we're not here. He has an open door. And I ask you, instead of joining in and the council member that's trying to sabotage him because she said 2 months to someone else that she is going to destroy him, instead of being a part of that, let's be part of working together.
Earlier in the day, Ivy made her case with a news conference featuring a litany of nonprofits that were promised funding that had been rescinded.
And without these funds, we're in a position to furlough or even terminate staff and not be able to deliver critical services.
Burrows says his goal is to make the awarding process more equitable. For her part, Ivy motioned to reverse Burrows' actions, but it failed. And then the public weighed in.
God is not pleased at what's going on up in this room. I'm telling you right now.
What happens next is unclear, but one thing is certain, this council is anything but unified. Byron Scott, CTV News.
And meantime, on Capitol Hill, U.S. House Republicans are debating the final pieces of a major spending bill this week, including major spending cuts to Medicaid that will change how states run the program. It would add new work requirements for Medicaid for some able-bodied adults. People not exempted from the requirements would need to work, engage in community service, or enroll in an education program for at least 80 hours a month. But Republicans are split over the multi-billion-dollar cuts being proposed. And as that debate continues, Maryland state officials and healthcare advocates are worried that many Marylanders would lose Medicaid coverage under the proposal. State officials say they anticipate a significant portion of Maryland's 1.5 million Medicaid recipients could lose coverage. House and Senate Democrats from Maryland, Virginia, and the district said in a letter to the committee debating the bill, the cuts would be, quote, catastrophic, destabilizing the healthcare system of the Washington metropolitan region and beyond.
Meanwhile, Governor Wes Moore had his hands full today, signing numerous bills into law. One of them, the Chesapeake Bay Legacy Act, aims to improve water quality, support sustainable agriculture, and promote economic growth in the region. Another one, the Sergeant Patrick Kep Act, was named after a Montgomery County police officer who lost his legs in an on-duty collision nearly a year ago. The law would impose harsher penalties for reckless drivers.
No legal action will ever undo the actions of that individual that day. And so this year, Marylanders came together to turn pain into purpose and introduce the Sergeant Patrick Kep Act, cracking down on reckless driving. And today, I am very proud to sign that into law.
Eric Barron, Maryland's former U.S. attorney and the first black person to hold the role, has landed a new job in D.C. Barron is now with the law firm Mintz, joining their white-collar defense and investigations team. He will lead their crisis management group, tackling everything from civil to criminal and regulatory cases. Barron started his new role last week.
And one industry hoping to benefit from the Trump administration's foreign tariffs, Maryland's crab watermen and processors. The crab industry has been hurting due to cheaper crab imported from Venezuela and the annual struggle to hire foreign guest workers to pick locally caught crab. Some watermen hope the tariffs on foreign countries will bring crab manufacturing back to the states. And some are urging President Trump to put even higher tariffs on Venezuela, which currently has just 15% tariffs on exports. Those watermen are lobbying for tariffs up to 150%.
If you've stepped outside today, then you know the wet weather has been dreadful. Unfortunately, the heavy rain we are currently experiencing is just the beginning. The National Weather Service has issued a flood watch for Washington, D.C., Northern Virginia, and Montgomery County. Heavy rain and thunderstorms are expected to last throughout tonight and continue through the end of the week. So much rain coming into the region. The National Weather Service encourages residents, especially those in flood-prone areas, to get ready. Remember to fully charge essential tech items and avoid driving through high waters. You're watching CTV News. I'm Marquette Shepard.
And I'm Mariah Jalad. Still to come, a health and fitness event is coming to the National Harbor this weekend.
That's right. We'll tell you when it's happening and what you can expect after the break.
You gotta believe without seeing. You gotta keep going, keep breathing. When you face a day that feels like you're gonna break, you gotta believe without seeing. seeing angels above you and think about when peace just another color. Ooh, just another color. Just another color.
Welcome back. A Landover man is heading to prison for a string of armed robberies across 3 Maryland counties. 43-year-old James Kareem Day was sentenced to 16 years behind bars plus 5 years of supervised release. Prosecutors say Day hit multiple businesses in Howard, Montgomery, and Prince George's counties between late 2022 and early 2023, sometimes using a sawed-off shotgun to demand cash. Federal, state, and local law enforcement teamed up on the case as part of Project Safe Neighborhoods, a national push to reduce violent crime.
A suspect is in custody after accidentally killing his friend over the weekend. 18-year-old Kamare Kamara is charged with manslaughter in connection with the fatal shooting of 16-year-old Derek Palmer. Police found Palmer suffering from a gunshot wound inside of his home on Saturday. The investigation shows Kamara shot Palmer while playing with a gun.
And a new report criticizes the different policies that many Maryland jurisdictions have related to electronic ankle monitoring. Through a report from the Justice Policy Institute, it calls Maryland's pretrial practices inconsistent, unfair, and inefficient. Here in Maryland, 20 out of 24 jurisdictions use ankle monitoring for defendants awaiting pretrial. The report recommends a complete, comprehensive review of the electronic monitoring system.
A focus on healing and hope in Prince George's County as officials gather to tackle a growing crisis. Last night, the County Council held a mental health town hall, highlighting progress since a powerful 2023 meeting that put community needs front and center. The event connected residents with local resources while opening up conversations to break stigma and build support.
Just wanted to name how important this is to us, how, usually at public hearings we just hear and it's not necessarily a dialogue, but I want you to know that we hear you. This is a top priority and we really want to figure out how to get the services that we deserve for the residents here in Prince George's County.
From crisis response to counseling access, Ariata says forward progress is happening and the work is far from over.
And Kaiser Permanente is bringing an event to the National Harbor that seeks to make health and wellness fun for the whole family. Healthy at the Harbor will bring no-cost health screening to the waterfront, but also fitness activities like yoga and Zumba. Kaiser Permanente's Cynthia Cifuentes says living a healthy life is a lifestyle, and it starts at a young age.
80% of your health is tied to your activities and your lifestyle that is outside of the exam room. And so part of what we want to do is just really make it part of your everyday conversation, make it part of your everyday activities, and do it in a very fun and meaningful way for children.
And this is a free event happening this Sunday, May 18th. For more information, visit kp.org/healthy-at-the-harbor.
Well, calling all Hyattsville and Landover Hills residents, it's time to head to the polls for Election Day. Hyattsville is voting for 5 city council members for wards 1 through 5. Meanwhile, Landover Hills is voting for 3 council members for wards 1 through 3. Residents can vote by mail, drop ballots off, or vote in person at the polls until 8 p.m.
While the Maryland Transportation Authority and the Maryland Higher Education Commission are turning tragedy into opportunity. Students from 4 major Maryland universities will get the chance to gain engineering, development, and public sector field opportunities through the new Key Bridge Rebuild internship program. The program will include undergraduate and graduate students from the University of Maryland College Park, Morgan State University, University of Maryland Baltimore County, and Johns Hopkins University. And still to come on CTV News, Dr. Hack is back in the CTV studio.
That's right. This time she's helping us get our minds and bodies in shape for spring. Stay tuned.
Women first, but women with disabilities last.
During a military exercise, we crashed and I broke my neck.
When I was in the Air Force, an accident changed my life. I couldn't have imagined the injustices I would face.
Every day, women like me go to the doctor for annual checkups for conditions like breast cancer. Early detection saved my life. But women with disabilities face a cruel reality: inaccessible medical facilities and equipment.
In the 25 years since my injury, I have not seen a gynecologist. There's not one accessible OBGYN in my community.
I found lumps in my breast. I went to a doctor's office I was told was accessible, but when I got there, I couldn't get through the front door.
I don't know where I'd be today without access to testing. Our veterans deserve better. Help PVA fight for access at pva.org.
If words were enough, I would help you bear your burden. I would watch each child of yours grow strong and true. Teach them to read and to write and to sing so that their voices be forgotten nevermore. If words were enough, I would sate your hunger and you would know you are my sister, my brother, my child. If words were enough.
It's so hard to predict a sick kid who just keep getting sicker, but we needed to be together as a family. My family is my entire life. My family means the world to me.
When we're together and we have support from Ronald McDonald House, we can be a little stronger. They provide food and a place to rest your head, and they will help you through every step. That's what gets you through every day when you don't know how else you're gonna make it.
It makes you feel like you're not alone.
Well, as the weather warms up and schedules shift, many of us are thinking about how to move our bodies more. This spring, it's time to rethink wellness routines without pressure or perfectionism, especially for women juggling it all.
That's right. So today we are here talking with Dr. Stephanie Hack, a skilled surgeon, educator, and host of the Lady Parts Doctor podcast. Dr. Hack, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So going into this summer, what are some ways that we can introduce more movement into our routines without feeling like there's a lot of pressure or feeling guilt if we don't meet certain goals?
Sure, I think that's a very common feeling that we have, right? Many of us have been overwhelmed with the holidays. We've been very busy. And so we're like, oh my goodness, we're wearing sundresses. And now what have I been doing for my fitness routine? The important part is easing back in. And I really want to put an emphasis on easing in. You know, you can't, when you have been taking time off, just jump back into where you used to be because your muscles might be stiffer, and then that's going to increase your risk of injury. Also, you're going to be tired. You're not as conditioned as you were before. So I always recommend just starting with what I call a little something, and a little something is just adding a little extra movement to whatever it is that you're typically doing. If that means taking the stairs at work, that's one we hear a lot. Or maybe when you're boiling your pasta for dinner, you're going to move and dance around a little bit more. The Department of Health and Human Services exercise recommendations are 150 minutes of moderate intensity aerobic exercise. That's going to be something where you increase your heart rate, but you can still maintain a conversation. So going for like a brisk walk with a friend, or jogging or swimming, or you could do about 75 minutes of vigorous aerobic activity. That's going to be increasing your heart rate where you can't maintain a conversation with someone. So that would be running, maybe swimming some laps. So some of that, if you haven't been active, I just recommend being kind to yourself and just gently adding in a little more movement. The more you do, the more you'll do.
But in addition to exercise, you also say that healthcare is self-care. And I always think of getting a manicure and a pedicure, but you're thinking something much more substantial.
Yeah, for all of you want to make sure that you're getting all of your regular checkups, but then also you don't want to forget the other things like sleep. We take for granted sleep because when you're busy, that's like one of the first things to go, I'll just stay up a little later and get the work done. But sleep deprivation and sleep deficiency have been linked to a number of chronic health conditions like heart disease, kidney disease, diabetes, high blood pressure, depression, and other mental health conditions, and ding, 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 obesity. And so you really want to make sure that you're getting 7 to 9 hours of sleep. That's the recommendation. Do your best, you know, especially if you have little kids, your sleep is going to get interrupted. I was up at midnight with my toddler. And then also, in addition to getting enough sleep, you want to hydrate. I don't know if you've ever gone for a long period in the day and you think, did I drink water? When's the last time I had something to drink? So the general recommendations are going to just depend on your age, your sex, your activity level, if you're pregnant, those kinds of things. But ideally, women want to get 9 cups of water or so a day, and then men want to get about 13 cups of water or so a day. And of course, that will depend on your activity level, but those are part of developing a self-care routine.
And for those people, you know, you mentioned some things that you can do while you're cooking dinner or something like that. But for those people out there that might be balancing, you know, work and taking care of a family, what are some ways that you can work movement into your routine while dealing with those big responsibilities?
Sure. So we kind of talked about, like, if you have to go to work, if you're working in an office, you're going to take the stairs and find ways to be active that way. But even if you are working in an office setting and you sit a lot, finding opportunities to stand. If you can put your laptop a little higher and stand a little longer so you're not as sedentary. Or if you have the ability to go out and take a walk on a break, whether you're at home or at work, it really is anything that's going to get your heart rate up. I mean, anything. If you love Beyonce and you've been following this Cowboy Carter tour and you want to turn it up loud, and like anything that's going to get your heart rate up is fine, and be okay with that for yourself because you're just starting and easing back in.
Can we talk about mental health? There are so many people, federal workers and other industries, they are losing their jobs. They're up at night not sleeping because they're worried about where their income is going to come from. Definitely. Or pivoting careers or things like that. What should people be doing to stabilize their mental health and then also just kind of have a positive outlook, not knowing what's going to happen? That word uncertainty seems to be buzzing around.
Oh, yes, and that is an excellent question. I can't tell you not to worry. That is just something that we inherently do. We as human beings are hardwired to worry about our circumstances. But ideally, when it comes to getting yourself in the right mindset, you want to pick whatever it is you want to believe and stay focused on that. If your belief is, I am going to find stable, steady employment that supports my family, then that is what you're going to believe. In the meantime, you are going to be putting actions behind that. But in addition, you have to get sleep. Like, that's just something that you have to do regardless. So I would encourage you to develop good sleep hygiene. That means turning your devices off before a certain time of the night, also dimming lights, and not reading in your bed or being on your phone in your bed, putting those things away. And then also, if you're someone who wakes up in the middle of the night because you have to go to the bathroom, you want to decrease your fluids so you don't have to do that. But I would encourage them definitely to get sleep, because not getting sleep is just going to exacerbate. It's going to make all of those things that they're already stressing about worse and take a greater toll on their mental health.
All right, well, thank you so much for being back here with us today, Dr. Hack. We love those tips.
Very good.
Thank you.
Of course. And for more information on Dr. Hack or her very informative podcast, visit ladypartsdoctor.com. And now Simon Bucks is here with our Wednesday sports page.
That's right, Simon. What's going on in the world of sports?
Hey guys, and coming up in sports, some exciting high school playoff highlights and a quick recap of last night's NBA draft lottery. Stay right there.
Danny. See me after class. Okay, so, Jennifer?
Yes? Okay, let me know.
Danny, I just got this notice from your school. We need to talk.
This is important. We need to talk.
Danny, wake up!
Danny! Laps.
Danny! She's overdosing.
When no one else knows what to do, it's gotta be you. Carry Naloxone. You could save a life.
Okay, sports fans, your Tuesday sports page is here. Let's get into it. There was some high school playoff action in Greenbelt yesterday as the Eleanor Roosevelt and Duval girls lacrosse teams faced off against each other. The Lady Raiders jumped out to a 3-0 lead to start the game, but Caitlin Newmeister and Taryn Parker locking in and making these two goals helped Duval close the gap, and they went into the second quarter now down 3-2. In the second quarter, Roosevelt struck first, scoring the first goal of the period thanks to this one from a Lady Raider. And just 2 minutes later, Duval went right back at the blue and white, scoring a goal of their own thanks to Parker coming through for her team again. Roosevelt scored 2 more goals after that and went into the half up 6-3 on the Lady Tigers. Moving on to the third quarter, Duval couldn't contain Roosevelt as the blue and white scored 5 more goals and went into the fourth up 11-4. Duval was unable to complete their comeback in the fourth quarter, and Roosevelt sent them packing as they took down the Lady Tigers 13-5. Meanwhile, Commanders linebacker Kane Madrano is looking to prove that he belongs in the NFL. Washington selected the UCLA product in the 6th round of this year's draft. A big reason the Burgundy and Gold took Madrano was because of his athleticism. And the 24-year-old explained how his athleticism plays a part in his versatility.
I think just being able to play anywhere, right? You know, athleticism, I can cover, right? I can play in the box and I can help stop the run. And then also on special teams, right? To put me in areas where they need help or that I can contribute the most. And I think that's what my athleticism allows them to do, is being able to plug and play.
And the NBA draft lottery took place last night, and Wizards fans like myself were wondering what pick the team would end up with in this year's draft. Washington won just 18 games this season and missed out on the playoffs for the 4th consecutive season. So surely the team would get a top 5 pick, right? Well, after last night's draft lottery, the Wizards didn't get the 1st overall pick. Okay, how about the 2nd? Nope. Maybe the 3rd? 4th? Nada. 5th? 6th? Ding, ding, ding. That's right, the Wizards will have the 6th overall pick in this year's draft after winning less than 20 games. Crazy, right? Hopefully whoever Washington decides to select with that pick is a huge difference maker for the team. The NBA draft takes place on June 25th. And wrapping up sports, the Carolina Hurricanes took a 3-1 series lead over the Washington Capitals last night after beating them 5-2. If the Caps lose just one more game, their season will be over. Game 5 will take place on Thursday at 7 o'clock. And that wraps up your Tuesday sports page. Simon Buggs, CTV Sports.
All right, thanks, Simon. Now let's get a look at our 3-day weather forecast. Tonight, as we mentioned earlier, we are under a flood alert, so be safe out on the roads. Tomorrow, more rain is on the way, and we'll have a high of 76. Thursday, we only have a 40% chance of showers. It'll be 79 degrees. Friday, more storms are on the horizon. We'll have a high of 82 and low of 66.
And for our community calendar, tomorrow, in honor of Mental Health Week, the Bowie Playhouse is hosting 2 movie screenings at 2 p.m., A Beautiful Mind, and at 6:30, Inside Out 2. Both films promote well-being, positivity, and connection. All movies require advance purchase of tickets. For tickets and more information, contact the number 301-809-3011.
And that wraps up CTV News for now. Thanks for joining us.
We'll see you again tomorrow. Good night.